Welcome to the SparkCom podcast, where we talk about trends, innovation, and what's coming next. My name is Manny Turan.
And I'm Adam Hartung.
And we are here this week discussing a very polarizing conversation, potentially. But that's okay. You know, it's all about discussion and it's all about communication and learning about trends and fads and other things. You can go to our website at sparkpartners.com to get more information about Spark Partners and our course and some ebooks and lots of good stuff. So Adam, I had my son come up to me about a week and a half ago, and he said, "Dad, I want to buy some Dogecoins." And I'm like, "What?" And he explained to me that I had to look it up. I don't keep up on all these cryptocurrencies, but it kind of made me think. Interesting. And so obviously cryptocurrencies have been around for a little bit of time now, and you've got some people that are very much on the bandwagon. They've got their snare drums and their cymbals, and they're going to town with this is a new way of doing business. You've got the big boys like Chase and other banks that are sniffing around, haven't really done much as far as leaning in. And it kind of brought us to this conversation today. And let's get your thoughts on it, Adam.
Well, first of all, did you let him buy some of those Dogecoins?
Yeah, so we're gonna buy some together. We're gonna buy maybe $100 worth just for him to understand the process. And so yeah, we're gonna give it a shot.
Well, those coins in particular went up in value, I think some 16,000% or something like that. Do you know why they went up in value?
I believe it's because some very, very high influenced people made mention of it, including, I believe, Jeff Bezos.
Well, I think it was Elon Musk, but yeah, you're right. I mean, Elon Musk came out and said that he'd bought something like $40 million worth of those coins.
Yeah.
So now you're considering buying them. So I want to take the point of view that I've had on cryptocurrencies now for quite a while. They've been around for 16 years. I've taken the same position on them ever since they first came up. And that is that they're a fad. And they have no inherent value, and eventually, I think that they'll go away. And right now, when they're really popular, I think it's a fad, not a long-term trend. And therefore, I don't own any. I wouldn't consider owning any. So let's just kind of start off with some basic facts. It's built on blockchain technology. The blockchain technology has a lot of good uses. You know, if you put together a statewide program to track automobile licenses, and you did it in a blockchain technology, you'd be able to keep track of every car that was ever registered in the state, right? And you would every transaction would be not documented. If you could create, so there are applications where it makes a lot of sense, tracking medical records. If you created a general ledger in blockchain technology, you wouldn't have to be audited because every single transaction would have a token associated with it. You couldn't break into it, couldn't change it, and you couldn't forge your books. So the technology itself is a very valuable technology. And then people came up with this idea, well, why don't we just make these tokens and we'll just exchange tokens, like as if you would exchange money. That was the idea, right? So as of today, the United Nations and the World Bank say that there are 180 currencies that you can trade in the world, 180. There are, according to the latest crypto count magazines, there are 4,000 different cryptocurrencies. and that's at the very beginning. It's like, why are there so many? Because anybody can create one.
Right.
Manny, you and I could make the SparkCom cryptocurrency tomorrow.
Right. Spark coins. I like it. I like the sound of it.
Absolutely. Do it tomorrow. You know, but people know the biggest ones. Bitcoin has been the biggest for a long time. You know, the top 10, I think Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Cardano, Polkadot or Dot, Stellar, also known as XLM, Chainlink, Binance, Tether, and Monero, otherwise known as XMR. Now, you've heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Have you heard of any of the others?
Just in passing, maybe one or two of the other ones, but not very deep.
And had you ever heard of Dogecoin before 2 weeks ago?
No, I did not. No.
And so this is the point I want to make is that if I said, hey, Manny, I'd like you to go out and wash my car. And in exchange for washing my car, I have these papers that I will give you, these blank sheets of paper that, you know, people that don't have video can't see, but these blank sheets of paper. So I want to give you these because I think they're very valuable pieces of paper. Would you be likely to do that?
Likely not.
Right.
I know where you're going with this, but continue.
If I walked up and said, Manny, I have this paper. Now I'm holding up, cash, green cash money. And I said, I will pay you with these 10s, 20s, ones that I have here. Would you be potentially willing to wash my car?
Potentially, yes.
So what's the difference between the two? They're just pieces of paper.
An idea.
Yeah.
An agreed upon idea.
Right. Right. The difference is that the printed one that I've got in my hands, we've agreed will be a store of value, right? And that the $50 bill represents 50 somethings, right? If it was a 50 euro, it represents 50 euros, right? And we trade that so that that keeps me from having to you wash my car, I got to give you a steak dinner. Or you wash my car and I'll give you a goat, or wash my car. That's the way we were. It was barter for a long time, and then somebody came up with this idea. Well, why could we create a store of value? And at first it was things like big rocks. The Polynesians used to have these big rocks that they would use as stores of value because they were hard to move. And then eventually we came up with this idea of currency, and currency for a long time wasn't very good because a bank would issue its own currency. So when you went in and you gave gold to the bank, and they would say, okay, you now have so many dollars from the Bank of Montana, or you have so many dollars from the Bank of Oklahoma, or whatever. And the problem was, if that bank got robbed, then your currency wasn't worth anything anymore. Or if that bank failed because it made loans and the people didn't pay the loans, then your currency wasn't any good anymore.
Right.
And it's caused a really, really, really big problem in the Great Depression. And to the extent there had ever been any of those currencies that so we started moving towards one central currency backed by the United States government. Of course, you're familiar with, there was a Confederate currency that existed before the war. So there were two currencies for sure. But as time went on, we moved towards one central currency. And then we established the Federal Reserve after the Great Depression, and they gave them responsibility for managing the money supply, right? And so now we have the federal government of the United States saying that if you can trade these little pieces of paper, or better yet, you can trade just little dots in your computer that represent these pieces of paper, right? So I can say, Manny, I'll send you $2.50 through one of my digital currency programs, or I'm sorry, $250 for my digital currency program to wash my car, and you'll be okay. And all we did was, there was a digital transaction. It wasn't money that changed hands, but we have faith. Right? We have faith that it's going to work. And to the extent, so you say, well, why would you want one of these digital currencies? Well, let's say you're in a country like Iceland or the Seychelles or the Maldives, very tiny country. You could be worried about whether your currency could ever be any good anymore. So you'd like an alternative currency for that purpose. Or you could be in a country that's subject to a lot of government manipulation. Like for years we had problems with Brazil and Peru and Chile, and there were countries where the government would manipulate the currency and it'd get runaway inflation. Happened in Greece, happened in Italy before they went to the euro. Yeah. So there was people wanted some kind of an alternative to their own currency. And a cryptocurrency could possibly do that. Of course, you could also just say, I want to keep everything denominated in dollars or euros or Chinese yuan or another currency, but you could say you want a digital one. The other good use for this is doing something illegal. Because if I want to track it, because you think about, where do the cryptocurrencies get stored? Where's the bank for a cryptocurrency? Do you know?
It's everywhere, right? That's the whole idea, is to spread everything around, having some basic rules of engagement, if you will, but they're stored in servers and so forth. Okay, so who controls those servers? Whoever started the cryptocurrency in the beginning.
That's not true. The servers are everywhere, right? Somebody can sign on to be a Bitcoin miner, and all I have to do is join the Bitcoin network, and they can become a Bitcoin miner, and they can turn out, run the algorithms and turn out their own tokens, right? You can make a token. In fact, in the early days, the way people got Bitcoins wasn't through trading them. They made them. They literally mined them by running these algorithms, right? So today, if you want to, so then people say, well, they're going to start using this as currency. Well, you have to have some way to go back and forth with it. So we call those cryptocurrency exchanges, right? Dude, cryptocurrencies, if you want to exchange, you can't hold them. There is no physical manifestation of a cryptocurrency. It doesn't exist, right? So you can't even pretend to get, like printed dollars. So what you have to do is you have to have an account. We call the accounts wallets. The wallets are maintained in these cryptocurrency exchanges, and the exchanges are unregulated. So these are just, again, people, a dude who said, look, I'm going to set up an exchange where I will have a wallet and you can get your cryptocurrency of any variety that you want and you can keep it in your wallet. But just for your information, in the year 2019, there were approximately $300 billion worth of cryptocurrency stolen from currency exchanges. 300 billion stolen in what I call cryptocurrency hacks. Yeah. Then you also have this other problem, which is the currencies. Those exchanges, some of those exchanges failed because they got hacked, and it was just like a bank robber in Missouri in 1865. They came in, took all the gold and left, and the currency exchange looked good. And you're out. If you'd put gold in that bank, you're out. It's gone. You're never going to get it back again. That's literally what happened. And again, no regulation, no police hunting for these people. It's not an illegal activity because these are not government-backed currencies. So nobody's defending the currency. So when you steal the currency, you've not even broken a law. Yeah. You've hacked into it and you've gotten it. So now then, you've got your wallet, okay? Your wallet is this password protected thing, right? The only problem is because these servers are everywhere, it's not like PayPal. Your wallet is your wallet and nobody else knows about it. So you put a password on it, and of course, the password protection only allows a certain number of hits because they want to try to keep hackers out of it, right? So they'll say, well, you get 6 tries, and then the wallet is closed. In 2019, $140 billion worth of cryptocurrency was lost to what's called stranded wallets. So I'm sorry, that was just Bitcoin, by the way. It was not all cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, 20% of all Bitcoin is now believed to be in stranded wallets that nobody can access because the wallet is behind a password and nobody can get there. Right. By the way, the biggest place, so now if you wanted to try to use your cryptocurrency, like say you're in Vegas and you wanted to use some cryptocurrency for gambling. Okay, that's a great application of using the cryptocurrency. So as you might imagine, the number one place where you get cryptocurrency usable is through a cryptocurrency ATM, which is unregulated. And of course, the number one cryptocurrency ATM is in a casino, right? That makes all the sense in the world. Sure. So I'm saying it's like you want to get some money, you used to go into Wells Fargo or you used to go into a bank. We're talking about going to a casino. The number 2 is a gas station. Okay, it's called Terrible Herbst here in town. So number 2 is a gas station. I'm just trying to give you a sense of how underground this whole thing is, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's all underground. It's lightly connected. I get it. I understand the foundation. But what I contend is that the foundational concepts of cryptocurrency, when married and applied by a legitimate government, would be a significant change in the way things are done. That's what I'm proposing. I'm not saying that I don't have a horse in the race, right? I'm the same as you. I don't invest in any of these Bitcoin or any of these cryptocurrencies, but I see that there could be something down the road because I understand blockchain.
All right. So if it was government backed, you're making a very, very strong point. But again, there are no government backed cryptocurrencies today. Okay. So Dogecoin was launched as a joke. Literally, the guys who put together, that's why the DOG was for dog. I didn't never hear. You're the first person I heard say the word, so I thought it was doggy coin because the story is it was then, and it was just sitting out there doing nothing. And it got promoted a little bit, and by Snoop Dogg, the marijuana smoking rapper, and the lead singer for Kiss, I'm trying to remember his name, Gene Simmons. Yeah, those were the biggest proponents of that currency, right? And then Musk came out and he said, oh, I'm going to put $40 million into it. Boom. And all of a sudden, boom, it suddenly goes up a whole lot in value. So the net I'm getting here is it's an artificial thing that's only worth what somebody else will pay for it. So like if you look over my shoulder back here, you'll see a piece of art by a guy named Keith Haring. It's just a piece of paper. It's all it is a piece of paper, just like the ones we talked about before. Now, what's that piece of paper worth? You got to go to an art gallery. You got to start talking to collectors, and it's worth whatever a collector would pay to have that because that piece of art represents something that art that might be worthwhile. To me, I think it's pretty valuable, right? I have a high value for that piece of paper behind me with that original Keith Haring drawing on it. But how much would it be worth to you? Would you pay $100,000, $200,000, $1 million for it, right? Yeah. See. And that's where we're going with this
Well,
Dogecoin.
I would if I knew I could get more for it in
Yeah.
exchange.
But see, that's the fad. That's what makes it a fad. Then what happens is you're saying, well, I think if Adam's going to sell it to me for $100,000 and I've got on the phone and I called up some people and I think I can find a buyer for $150,000, then you jump in the middle and do that transaction. What do you not want to have happen? You don't want to get stuck, a year later with this thing hanging on the wall saying, oh, I paid $100,000 for that and I can't get rid of it, and now I'm out 100,000 real dollars that I could spend on groceries. Instead, I got this piece of paper hanging on the wall that's just not fungible. And what am I going to do with it? And how would I get my money back for that? So that's the actual point that we're trying to make here. These Doge coins, people hear about it and they get excited, and this is exactly what happened in the great tulip bulb mania that happened back in Holland 100 plus years ago, I think it was. But effectively what happened was people had tulip bulbs. They were valuable because they would grow the tulips, right? So the bulb, the value of the bulb was worth how many tulips you could grow in the market value of the tulips. Well, tulips got popular. People started buying more tulips, so the value of the bulbs went up. And then some people started doing, remember the short interest thing we went through around GameStop? They played it in the physical world. They started hoarding tulip bulbs. So they took the tulip bulbs, they put them in their house. Now all of a sudden there's fewer tulip bulbs, which drove up the price of tulips more. So they said, oh, cool. If I hoard these, it'll keep driving up, which is, the short squeeze that we talked about in the GameStop story. Eventually, the people were hoarding the tulip bulbs. Nobody was making tulips. Nobody was buying tulips. And the value of one tulip bulb was greater than the value of a house in Holland. And then somebody started planting tulips again. He planted tulips, which made more tulip bulbs, which got more tulips, and the whole market just crashed, right? Because there was no infinite inability to hold back these things. And the reality was it was an artificial price because one person wanted it and they traded it to the next one for a little more, traded to the next one for a little more, which is what you said. I want to buy it and sell it to the next guy. So if your son's sitting there saying, hey, this thing's gone up a lot, and what I want to buy is I want to buy it because I want to sell it. I just want to be a middleman. I want to buy it and sell it. Then recognize that's what you're doing. You're not investing. You're gambling, right? You're buying it on the hopes that you can sell it for more the next day. But, the nice thing about a dollar in a bank account in America is that it's a store of value. Unlike that, I think of that art as a store of value. I think, well, I'll hang on to it. And when I get tired of it, I'll probably get back more than I paid for, right? But I get to enjoy looking at it. I can't even enjoy looking at a cryptocurrency. It's just some crypto thing in a crypto wallet somewhere,
but
right?
See, as a teaching tool for me and my son, my oldest son, it's the banks, and I think I mentioned this one of the early podcasts, is I like to teach him about the way that banks operate now, and they're changing. When I 5 years ago, going into a Chase bank, there was eight tellers, and 6 of them had people in them, right? And you do transactions. I went in a month ago and there's 8 tellers and there's one person in the one teller. And then there's 2 big machines where you do most of your cash transactions. And so everything's changing, right? You got Zelle, you got Venmo, you got these other things. And, having an understanding of how they work on the back end, the Federal Reserve framework on all that is important. But I think that having a good awareness of how and why and when and where cryptocurrencies operate, I think will be valuable. Because I do think that one day you'll have a country like Greece, like Nigeria, say, okay, we're tired of all this malarkey. We're gonna basically align our real currency to some sort of cryptocurrency. And then I think that's gonna be a trend. Like right now, you're right, it's a fad. But I think until somebody really steps in and says, okay, we are the government of whomever, we're Austria, and we're gonna say, we're gonna put all of our money into this new format, and we're going to leave the EU and all that, or the EU currency. Something's going to have to happen before it gets to that next level.
And it's all, but a lot of people will say, Adam, I don't think it's a fad because there's so much of it and it's happening and so prolific. Elon Musk saying, hey, I want to buy $40 million worth of Dogecoin. He's also said he wants Tesla to put $1.5 billion into cryptocurrencies. In other words, they're going to, instead of having money at a Wells Fargo bank account, he wants to put it in cryptocurrency. So he says he's going to buy 1.5 billion. So this gets everybody excited, right? And then I read recently that a CFO of a major corporation was saying, well, I don't know why Apple wouldn't want to have a bunch of its cash stored in cryptocurrency. That way it has an appreciating value as opposed to regular nation-backed currency. And the point of all this is that it's like those tulip bulbs. Just because a lot of people are thinking this is something to do doesn't make it a trend, right? I one time had the chairman of United Technologies. He said, if 5,000 people have a dumb idea, it's still a dumb idea. I never forgot that. And what we're looking at here is, again, that situation that people are on this bandwagon right now. But the reason the prices are so volatile, going from, say, $6,000 a Bitcoin to $40,000 a Bitcoin, is just because it's exactly what you said. On any given day, at any given time, how much is somebody willing to pay for? And if they're actually paying for something that doesn't really exist, that's the part that's also interesting. It's not like some exotic car. It's not like a piece of art, something that may be considered overvalued. And the reason I like to use the art world is because in the art world, we all know that the value of most art, it depends on the gallery. You know, if you're an artist in Tucson, you try to sell a piece of art standing in front of your house, maybe you can get 40, 50 bucks for it. But if you get somebody who has a gallery and they exhibit your art and they say, oh, I know about art and I worked at other galleries and this is considered good art and I think it'll have long lasting value, then all of a sudden you're getting maybe $5,000 for it because the gallery promotes it. And then the bigger the gallery and the more successful they are, then they're doing Picassos and they're doing all the Herrings and all these other artists. But the reality is those people can manipulate the price because all they have to do is hang on. If the prices start going down, they just take and put art in inventory. They say, oh, yeah, I'll just take and put that back. We won't sell it for a while. The value will come back up. Then we'll release a few more and the market will get hot again. But it's not controlled by the government. It's controlled by these big gallery owners. That's where I want to get back to. The cryptocurrencies are constantly being made. There's fewer of them being made, fewer tokens being made every year because it gets harder. It gets into the technology of it. Of the blockchain. But the net of it is that there's no regulation, there's nobody paying attention, there's no bank, there's no regulation in terms of, like I said, stealing them because there's no real inherent value to them. So when the crypto exchanges get hacked, there's no FBI trying to figure out who did it. There's no way to get it back. Money's being put in wallets, it's being lost, there's no way to get it back. It really is just a very, to me, unusual. It's almost as if somebody said that sand was suddenly worth a lot of money. Right. And we're going to, trade in sand. But remember, if you go back 400 years ago, people traded in salt, people traded in spices, people traded in goods like blankets. Right.
Well, what do you think about what I said? If one of these, countries decides to move their or tie their real currency to cryptocurrency, do you think that would legitimize it and actually kick off an early real trend?
The issue would have to be how you tied it to the cryptocurrency, right? So imagine you had Nigerian dollars and you said one Nigerian dollar was worth one Bitcoin. And then, people were out trying to do business. And right now, these numbers are going to seem ridiculous because you're going to the grocery store. But, last year you had, I'm selling my bread for one Bitcoin and it's $6,000. Today, I'm selling my bread for one Bitcoin and it's $42,000, right? The Bitcoin itself is so volatile that how would you as a society you never know when to go shopping, right?
But what if one of these countries actually, and I won't use an EU country because it complicates everything. But say say there's an African country that not ties it to Bitcoin, but creates their own Burkina Faso coin, right? That is then their currency.
So yes, you could have somebody like Brazil, some country, Mexico. They're countries that are famous for historically having problems with inflation and currency manipulation. And you could say, okay, you guys have had a hard time. What we'll do is you create your own Bitcoin, your own cryptocurrency. And they could call it, the Brazilian cryptocurrency. And then what they could do is they could say, in 3 years, we're going to transition. They would start mining until they produced a whole bunch of these coins. Right. So they had enough coins out there that they could put a value to the coin. right? And then what they would do is they'd be able to say, okay, we're going to keep making more coins, which is good because you want about a 2 to 3% inflation rate in your economy all the time anyway. You don't want deflation. You don't want stagnation. You want a little bit of inflation. So they say, now that we've got the base of coins, we're going to add to it at a rate of 2 to 3%. We got the computers set up next to the river so they can stay cool. We're going to keep mining those out. And now what happens is that now if you've got these Brasilia cryptocurrencies, you are in great shape. Because now you don't have to worry about the government devaluing your currency by 10x, or the government, making manipulating the currency in some way to try to favor themselves in an election. So yes, you could do that. And that's the path that would go forward. But that is not the path of any of the 4,000 cryptocurrencies that are out there existing today. So the risk I see to things like this is if I was talking to your son, I would be worried that he would make this first investment of his life and it goes south on him, and then it sours him to think about becoming an investor, right? Because he now has it's like, well, it's just too risky. It's too risky. My father was born in 1915, and he remembered the banks failing in the Great Depression, and he would never buy a share of stock. I mean, he remembered the banks failing. He remembered the stock market collapsing. He lived his whole entire life, and he would never. I got out of the Harvard Business School. I'm trying to explain to him why it's a good thing for him to take some money that he has in checking accounts and put it into buying some stock in companies. And he would just always say over and over, too risky, too risky, too risky. Let me tell you what happened in 1928. And I would be kind of like, okay, all right, it's never going to win. And that's I fear about that for some investors today. We've got a lot of investors. They're out there. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have any background. Some of them are pretty young, 18, 19. They can go to a Robinhood or a similar technology, right? And they can buy shares. Some of them have maybe a few $1,000s they made. They can go open an E-Trade account and they can start to buy some stock. But they don't know what they're doing. They're just buying on momentum. They're hearing, oh, look, 5RR. Here's this company that's going to be, Adam says it's great because, it's going to be the gig economy and it's going to grow. Adam does think it's going to be a great economy, but right now the company's selling for 800 times sales. That's probably unrealistic. I personally wouldn't want to own that stock. Now I don't have a license. I don't have the licenses to recommend buying or selling stocks. But if I was talking to some young person, I would say, yeah, it's okay to be a fan of 5RR, but I don't know that you want to own their stock. What are the underlying fundamentals? Can it grow revenues at a rate fast enough to generate cash to be worth that much money? Yeah. Remember Palm Pilot?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Palm Pilot, we all had one. We carried them around. And at one point, Palm Pilot, like right around the turn of the century, Palm Pilot was worth something like, 180 times revenues. And it went from something like $250 to $10 in 4 weeks.
Yeah,
because all the buzz around the IPOs, remember all the IPOs
of course.
And the whole internet craze and how the stock market got so big around the turn of the century, and then it crashed. Yeah. And that's what I'm not predicting a stock market crash, listeners, but I'm saying that you have this risk of people now today are starting to think of themselves as investors, but they're not. They're gambling. They're buying on momentum. They say, oh, look, Elon Musk bought this. I should buy it. And that would be a good way to taint the well. Yes. and you may never get the well untainted.
Right, just like your old man. Well, yeah. Adam, it's been thanks for your insights. It's been good here to discuss and deepen our understanding of cryptocurrencies. Certainly go to our website at sparkpartners.com for more information. Look back at some of our podcasts. They're all there. They're all archived there. And of course, our course, Think Innovation, is launching this week. So we're pretty happy about that.
Hopefully people will know that that course, by the way, helps you separate trends from fads and understand how to use trends in your planning. I think that's why I'm deep into this. You don't have to get that deep into the weeds, but the course will help you to sort through those questions.
All right. Very good. Take care of yourself, Adam. We'll see you later.
Thank you.